Collins with Thirst Productions. I am going to turn it over to you.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody. Welcome. I think I know everybody on the calls, at least in some capacity, so I won't get into my history too much. Just that I am a technology person. I went to school for psychology, landed in Boston in the high-tech industry, which back then high-tech was year 2000 work, which is very low-tech now considered. And from there progressed through all different iterations of technology until I got burnout and then left. Then I did some crazy stuff with food and wine. I worked at a vineyard. I did some other crazy things in the middle, trying to figure out who I was. And then I settled on, I need to work for myself. So my perspective is incredibly different than what you'll get from an agency or a web agency or a digital marketing agency, because I am more of a consultant slash catch-all slash fix-it guy slash help you along the way person. So my perspective is a lot different. And I do work with small, sometimes tiny businesses, but I like working with mid-sized businesses with a budget that can do marketing actively, because it has to be done actively. Michelle and I were talking about that. When you build something, you can't just leave it for a decade and then wonder why it didn't, it's not performing. It has to be very active. So hence the title of this, let's demystify digital marketing. And the first thing I want to get right out of the way is, and this is a big, I don't know what it is. It's a big area of confusion, marketing, advertising. I looked up some definitions because I wanted to kind of get it right versus my opinion. Marketing is a way of communicating your brand messages to people. That could mean you're creating your market. It could mean you're telling people they need this tool for their whatever it is, their garage. They need it. You need it. Well, you've got to have it. That could be marketing. But to me, and using digital marketing, it's a way to share your messages. Advertising is a way of just letting people know you're there, just kind of creating a contact point. And with most advertising, it's just wrote every day. If you get hit with something, you'll start to remember that company does that. So marketing is the big bubble. It's your message, it's your brand, it's who you are, and it's how you promote it. So the thing I'm going to talk about is digital marketing. And the reason that I believe digital marketing is a very, very, very powerful way to do things is it's efficient. You can automate a lot of things. You can gather data, you can analyze data, and you can see where your dollar is going with digital marketing. Advertising, newspaper, radio, even banner ads, you're blanketing to so many people that you don't necessarily know who you're reaching, and you're spending money to reach a huge bubble of people when really you want to do this very important thing that I think digital marketing excels at, which is target your market. You want to fish where the fish are, basically. We're talking about fishing, and that's an analogy that I use. There's a handout that we'll send out after that kind of goes into more depth, but you can go to the ocean and you can throw your net in the ocean and try to catch fish, right? But you're very likely not going to get any, and if you do, they're going to be small and they're going to be accidental. Whereas if you go to a spot has fish, you bait for the fish, you throw your net on top of the fish, you're going to get more with less effort. Digital marketing is a way to somewhat cost effectively, it does cost money, it can cost a lot of money, but to target your messaging and target your brand messaging to the right people. And I think that's where the power of it comes in. It's not so much, and I get this all the time, like, oh, that website's beautiful, that's great, but it's about the message, it's about the brand, it's about who you are. So I just want to get that out there. What you want to start with whenever you get into any type of marketing is, who are you? So first you dream it. Who am I? What do I do? You can change that along the way, but you have to figure out what you are and what your message is. And then you have to develop it. And this is where content development comes into marketing. You have to build some kind of brand messaging. And I find it's extremely easy. I'm talking to Shelly about this. When we go through the process of building a website, you can't just take things out of the air. You have to have actual ideas, and we'll flesh those out in the process when we're building a digital marketing or a website campaign type thing. If you go do an ad for whatever, a newspaper, you're writing your name, what you do, I've used this example before. If you mow lawns, you're a lawn mower. Well, that doesn't differentiate you, but you have to really, limit your content in an ad, in a print ad, because there's not enough there to say anything. So when we do websites, it's more than a pretty picture, it's your story. And when we walk through the steps of, okay, we have to do an about us, we have to do a bio, we have to do a history, we have to really explain who you are. A lot of this gets fleshed out in the process. So when we do go through a web design thing, it's more of a consultative process where we talk about how to get your brand out there and how to build your brand and how to do it. Then we record it on the website. Then we have your story. And then the great part about digital marketing is then we take that information that we have rooted, and then we disseminate it in little bits to the targeted people that we want to see. So, and then the best part of that is we get analytics and we can see data and we can see what works and we can see what people respond to. And then we remarket to them. People, you'll see this all the time now with ads. If you're looking at kitchen cabinets, you suddenly start getting magical kitchen cabinet ads. So again, it's the targeted, it's the repeat, it's finding the right people that are interested in your product. So anybody have any questions? I don't want to talk the whole time. I'd love to know what people want to know about, because I've got boatloads of information I can share. So the next step is to talk about social media.
Shelly, go ahead and unmute yourself. I
Oh.
saw you had your hand up.
So, when you talk about digital marketing, excuse me, I related, Rich, what you said about, we did at the veterinary hospital I work for, we did a blast of, I think it was mailers to all of Conway, and it, you know, we realized very quickly that there was a large group of people that just wasn't, you know, that wasn't gonna make an impact. But when it seems that everybody's online now, and when you're talking about digital marketing, are you including Facebook, a website, Instagram?
I was just going to get into that. Yeah, I figured I'd ask a question before I get into social media, because that's a very, very sticky, interesting conversation. But yes, I am, because as I was talking about, you build your brand, you build your identity, you record it on your website or wherever you want to, and then you disseminate it, as I mentioned. Well, social media is the most powerful way to do that. However, the big thing to know is it is no longer free, as people tend to think. It is very much paid promotion now. So if you have a business of any kind and you're using social media and you're trying to get around the system of paying by using it organically, you're going to get lost in a bubble, because they don't want you. They make money hand and fist. So social media is the piece you use for promotion, but it's really paid now. There's no other way around it. If that answers your question. But yeah, it's all encompassing, and I can get into all the pieces. But there's a lot of them. The other one being,
and I just started really being more active on Instagram, and the thing that you know, I'm a target market. I'm a woman in her 50s on Instagram. Like, I'm noticing what is being sent to me, but it's all stuff that I like.
yeah, so it's fantastic. That was the piece I meant with remarketing. And if you're looking for kitchen cabinets, you're going to get kitchen cabinets, and that's the beauty of the targeted digital marketing versus throwing your net on the, in the open ocean. So they will help you. Facebook and Instagram is Facebook. Some people don't know that. Meta, I guess, is their name. They own everything now, or they will.
I just saw that.
So it's interesting because they know everything, but a lot of privacy laws are coming into play. Apple's not really playing nice. So it's going to diminish a little bit, which is kind of interesting. I mean, they could pinpoint, and when we do ads, we can point people that, dye their hair purple. That a little bit of an exaggeration, but fishing, everybody that fishes can get the same ads. We can just pick it when we do ads. So we're targeting our ads to, you can do it to demographic, you can do it to age group, you can do it to sex, male, female, you can do it to almost anything. You can target those ads. So you're not out there just fishing, you're really promoting to you. So you're, yeah, like you said, you're a very, you're a very good target market. They like young people because young people blow a lot of money on, simple things, easy to go, but they also like people that run households because they spend a lot of money on the whole family repeatedly. So, but yeah, social media. Cam.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question on that, Rich. In terms of the target marketing, and so just for context, I am a content director at a digital marketing agency, but we do mostly digital, right? So I'm one of the agency people. And so we're aware of how Apple is sort of not playing anymore. What Rich, I think, was probably going to talk about is when you go to your apps, it'll say ask app not to track, right? So every single time I've asked the app not to track, but I'm still getting targeted for the boots I look at, or the cookware I look at, or the thing. So I'm just curious, like, how deep is that going if I'm still actually getting targeted a lot for that stuff?
Very
Do you
good
have
question.
a sense of that?
Yeah, very, very complicated question. And it just keeps getting more complicated. Whenever you use an app and you log in with Facebook, you guys all know what that, you'll get there. It's like, oh, you can create a login or you can log in with Facebook. So I don't know the exact dynamics of it, but by doing that, you're giving permission for Facebook to see what you're doing on that app. There's some kind of connection. I don't know the depth of it. I don't know if it knows your name. I don't know if it randomizes. I don't know that. But every single time you do that, they have access to see what you're doing or what you like. So you might go, well, I haven't used Facebook in a month. How does it know what I'm doing? Could be anything else out there in the world that you're using that has a connection to Facebook. Facebook will, or any of these marketing companies, I shouldn't say Apple's just as guilty, Google, I'll do it. They can pay for that data because when you sign the little checkbox at the bottom of the app you're about to use, it says you're giving your privacy away. Although, like Cam says, that's changing a little bit. People are kind of getting sick of it. But if it's not, the usual rule is if your name isn't on it, you're generally not held to privacy. If it doesn't know who you are exactly, so you become a statistic, a age range, a sex, a location, but all this data is everywhere being collected. So you might say that you're not being tracked, but you are. And then Apple, like I said, Apple's brilliant at it too. They do it just by the very nature of you using their product. But they might take away your personal connection. They might not tie your data to your phone, but it still knows a lot. And I don't know the details. I'm not into that, but yeah. And I think Apple's the first one that kind of stepped up and said, hey, we actually do care about privacy. We care about keeping our own data as well. So you can't have it, but it's a big, it's a big area of concern. Anybody that uses the internet, creepy. Oh yeah. Yeah. And even if you don't use the internet, I know I had family members like, well, we can never be hacked. We don't even use online banking, but I can go Google them. I can get their name, address, almost everything because the banks use, the internet and the government uses internet. So that data, there is no privacy anymore to an extent. If that answers, but they'll figure ways around it.
Well, they definitely know our demographics just from what we read, what we click on, and whatnot. Even though our IP address is now private, and we don't click on those, I'm seeing that we do still. There's a fingerprint out there somewhere on it. Right?
Yeah, and I mean your login is your fingerprint. It knows, Facebook knows who you are because you log into it. It knows all about you and everything you do. It might not share that, but by the terms of using that platform, you're showing who you are, which is fantastic if you're marketing digitally, because then you can actually show people ads that matter. That part I like. Right. I find a lot of value in the ads I get rendered. It's creepy. It is, but it's how it works. It's part of the game. So cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? Cool. Okay, so websites. I said we were going to talk about tools, trends, functional versus a non-functional website. I'll do it very briefly. Your website needs to be clear, concise, easy to read, and easy to navigate. A lot of people fall into a trap of just trying to make it bloated, big, beautiful, have crazy fancy buttons, do all kinds of things. It needs to be optimized. So essentially that is more of what I do than marketing at this stage. Is I try to optimize sites so that they're very simple to run, simple to manage. I take care of the back end so they run well, keep the viruses off them, keep the nasty things off them, keep the software up to date. All these things are really important because Google is another one that watches everything you do, and they can see when you've been hacked. They can see when you got traffic. They gauge your performance based on how many clicks you get. So you can have the best site in the world. If they don't see that you're getting traffic when it comes to organic search results, SEO is another big piece, you won't be rendered to the people as the top search results. So they actually count traffic and they put that into their algorithm. So if you don't get traffic, you won't get more traffic. So your website needs to be optimized and healthy is probably the best word. How to make it completely healthy is a total different animal. Everybody has opinions, but simplicity, clear messaging, and basically delivering what you say you're going to deliver is the best way to put organic search now. So organic search, when you type in Google, whatever you're looking for, arborist, organic search, you might get 5 or 6 results of tree people or plant people, and up on top you'll get the paid ads. So I think most of us are privy now to the paid ads versus the organic. Organic is beautiful because it is in many ways the only free thing we have left to get into. It is generally free. If you have good content and you deliver it properly, you can get in organic search results and you can get a ton of traffic. Otherwise you have to pay. So you got to make darn sure your content is really good. And this is where most people fall into a big trap, is they want their website to look great, but they don't want to take the time to really make the messaging equal what they're trying to say or what they should be trying to say. So if you're like, I'll go back to lawn mowing. If your website just says mow lawn, clean leaves, you have no differentiating value. So you have to compete at this other level. You need to figure out ways to tell a story that are grander and make people more interested and keep people on that site. Because the other thing Google does is it tracks how long you're on a page. So if you get sent to a page and you're on there 3 seconds, it knows people are bailing, and it knows it's like you're low value, move on. And we can track all that and talk about analytics. We could see all that. We have the power. So if your website's done right, you can see who's coming to your site, from where, how long they're staying, what pages they're consuming. And then you have to actually sit and look at it. I think Michelle and I were talking about it. Some people have a grand idea. They've got this idea and it's going to be the best and it's going to be the biggest thing ever and everyone's going to love it. But then you go look at the data and it's like, no one's really consuming that page. No one's really interested in that thing that you're doing, that whatever it is. And that's nothing anybody wants to hear, but it's just the way people work. But we have data, whereas with most traditional advertising and marketing, you don't have that data. Shelley, you sent postcards out for the clinic, and most people have pets now, so that's not a bad idea. And I noticed they do that here in Shakura, but there's only 3,000 people. But so that's $1,500 for postcards. Say if it's 50 cents a card, that's a lot of money to just blanket. But most people do have pets. Some of the thing I know, there's people with real estate here. Everybody has a home or someplace they live, but very few of them are selling it. So when you blanket with postcards, you're actually fishing for a really tiny audience, and everybody else is doing the same thing. So how do you stand out? It's a big pool. But having a website that is optimized, and that could be a whole discussion on its own, how to optimize it, what we could do. But there are so many things, from arranging your keywords to analyzing your keywords to figuring out exactly what people are searching for. Because you might call something, we all have different ways of referring to things. You might call something landscaping and they might call it home maintenance. You never know. So you can look at the data and find these things out. So any more questions? Where are we at? 12:24. So I have a very simple mantra that I tell people with all of this stuff. Be the subject matter expert. Be the resource people want to come to. You can do that in real life. You can do that by leading by example, but a lot of us don't have time to go and be ourselves everywhere all the time. So this is why you set up a digital marketing strategy, a nice website, a package for social media, so you can express that you're the subject matter expert, become top of mind, become the leader in your field, and then you advertise. So a lot of people in the Valley in particular function on referrals. They don't need to advertise. They often say, I got plenty of work. I don't need to advertise. I have referrals. That's great, but you're never going to grow if you don't throw your net again, if you don't start finding things. And the other thing that all of us are guilty of is when we need business, we tend to market, when you should always have your pipeline full. So when you need business, you have resources to go after. That's where we come back to remarketing. And I didn't even get into remarketing, but newsletters, e-newsletters, having a database of prospect clients or existing clients or anything like that that you can send targeted messages to. Because in my opinion, right now, you've got organic. Google search is a way to for people to find you that's low cost. The only other low cost thing we have is newsletter marketing or e-marketing or remarketing, where you have a posse you can send things to of people that are interested in your good or service, and you can offer them discounts, and you can offer them sales, or you can try to entice them, or you can just try to keep reminding them that you're the subject matter expert and the one that they should call when it comes time. So I use MailChimp. I have MailChimp certification. It basically just means that it's a powerful tool with a lot of analytics that you can communicate with your people for pretty low cost. I mean, I have a ton of followers, it's like $50 a month, but if you have under 2,000, I think it's still free. So you have a low cost way to communicate with your people, and you should do that all the time, not just when you need money or business. A lot of people fall in that trap, like, oh man, I don't have anybody booked out for whatever month. Let's start marketing, and it's really an ongoing thing that you should do all the time. And we'll go back to, once you have your story in place, once you have your brand developed, it's easy to just piece out pieces and remind people who you are because you have all the content there. And that's when we use our social media. That's when we use our radio. We use our newspaper ads. We advertise. So there's that. Digital marketing provides analytics and quantifiable results. And this is a big one. I can see when I run ads on the Facebook, Instagram bubble, I can see that X amount of clicks yielded me, and I can verify this on my website because it also tracks where it comes from, but I can say my $20 budget for one campaign, I can see it got 9 clicks. I can see those people came over. I can calculate, okay, so it costs about, $1 or so, whatever the number is per click to get people to my website. And then I can also break it down a level to see how you get people to sign up to a newsletter. So you might have a $20 budget, you get 10 people to come over, and you get 1 to sign up for your email list that you can remarket to. And the funnel gets real small, real quick. But you can say, with digital marketing, you can say, here's my cost. On average, this is what it's going to cost me. I can develop a budget. I know what it's going to cost per click, per person, per eyeball to get people to my site, to see my stuff. And you can kind of very easily manipulate your marketing budget so that it meets whatever your need is. If you have an event coming up and you're going to make whatever X amount of dollars, you take, they say probably 7% of your marketing budget per event should be used for promotions. You can calculate this and you can make a fair budget to promote your event or your whatever, your good or service, a new service, using real data that more or less is pretty accurate. Talking about Facebook a little bit, the pages and the groups and all that type of stuff. A lot of people say, I don't need anything else other than my Facebook page because I have a lot of followers and they're all into it and they see everything I do. I looked up a stat. It was 5.2% of followers of a page actually see the content that's put out there, which is a very low number, but I think most of us know that people don't see everything that you post. Even this speech or this webinar, I promoted the heck out of it. I don't know how many people saw it. I didn't have time to look at the analytics, the data, but I know a lot more people than than responded to that ad with a like or whatever. I've got like 1,200 followers and there were 3 or 4 or 5, 6 comments and maybe dozen likes. Not everybody sees what you're putting out there unless you pay for it. Once you start paying for it, it's a different animal. But a Facebook page and social media alone are not going to do it. You really need to do quite a bit more to get out there. So 12:30. I've talked a while. Anybody have questions?
I have a question in
Sure.
regard to the digital marketing versus advertising.
Okay.
Can you just briefly explain the difference between the two when thinking of marketing versus advertising digitally?
Sure. So they're all connected. They're all interconnected. Digital marketing is leveraging technology tools. To me, this is my definition. It's leveraging technology tools that provide efficiencies and lower costs to help you ultimately target. So everything online, there really isn't a big pool online that you just jump into. Maybe banner ads in a newspaper or something that everybody sees, but everything is targeted. So advertising is a component of digital marketing, but by using technological tools, you're creating efficiencies to save you money to stretch your dollar further. Whereas advertising traditionally just blanketing a message out there. And they're one and the same, but the difference is the technological tools that we have. And there's so many of them and so many different ways to do it. And people at work, people that own the businesses have jobs, they don't have time to research all these things. There's so many thousands of ways to do this now that it's gotten way too complex. So that's what I do is I maneuver the digital fields for people of all different kinds.
And how do people contact you if they're interested in your help and your expertise?
Well, believe it or not, I do have a website, Thirst Productions. That's my company. Most people, it's kind of funny when we marketed this, it was like, oh, with Rich Collins. Most people know me because I don't have a staff. I will outsource, some work to some people that I know or some local people or some people offshore, even if I need to. But it's just me. So I am the company. If you go to any business seminar, they will tell you, don't be the company, let the company be you. But I've done this long enough that I know that I don't want to grow beyond my own stable. So you can reach me just very simply by going to my website, finding me. But most people know me, and I do a lot of work with referrals on top of some digital marketing. If I had more time to digital market, I would do it. But I spend more time doing it for everybody else, which is great because I can see the results, but I don't have time to do it much myself. So you can just find me online.
And if they wanted to find you online, it's thirstproductions.com, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Perfect. Rich, I really appreciate you taking the time and everybody connecting for this call, because it's helpful to know what you do and how you can provide your services for businesses here in, Mount Washington Valley, but, beyond in the state of New Hampshire, and how you can reach and support, because it's such a big deal right now. And especially with how we are going through not just what is a new normal, but just how the trends change and how things in marketing and digital advertising and how it's all moving. I think your knowledge is just extremely helpful. And I appreciate that. So thank you for taking the time.
Sure. And I can talk about what I do if people are interested.
Absolutely. Please do.
I try not to talk about myself, but so what I do is a lot of what I talked about. I sit down with people and I help them build their brand message. And I usually, Michelle and I were talking about this, I usually end up saying, okay, we need a new website just because yours is either outdated or doesn't work, or it's been hacked or something like that. So I didn't really start out building websites. I started out doing marketing, and then it just kind of came to me that I'm like, we have to redo all this technology stuff. So that's kind of why I do sites, but I don't just build websites. I tend to do more maintenance management, and I do some, I guess you can call it retained marketing, where we have a strategy and we execute it ongoing. So some people pay me to just manage their entire campaign, which would include Facebook ads, Google ads, maintaining a budget and promoting their business and constantly making them do new, fresh content. That's one thing people really need to do. So I do it soup to nuts. I can start with a blank slate and build everything for you. I can take an old site, redo it, and bring it up to date, freshen it up, and manage it for you. I can just host websites. I have some people that don't want to do anything. Well, I'm in that category. I got my site up. I update it occasionally, but I don't have time to really do it. Not the greatest marketing strategy, but I do just host for people. Some people I talk to once a year when it comes time to, pay the bill, but other people I have that I talk to constantly that are coming up with new ideas that we're promoting. So I do a little bit of everything. I've got about 30 something clients, I think, in my roster that I maintain or manage, but anything to do with tech, from just running simple ads online to e-marketing to managing databases. I do all those things for people. So it's kind of tough because I do a lot of things, and I like it that way because I get bored. So any challenge I'm up for. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Hey, so Rich, you know me, and I know you in a writing sort of context, and you mentioned talking about having them maintain their content. You're not actually doing the writing for people though these days, correct? You're just telling them, putting a fire under the butt to say, you need to get another blog out, or you need to do this.
Yeah. So what I do is I force people to write their own content. They don't like it, as you know. Everybody knows their business or what they want to say, but it's hard to say. I used to write it for people, but what was happening is it wasn't if I don't know the industry, it's not what's the word? I don't want to say organic. It's not
as
natural.
authentic. Yeah.
Authentic, yes. So and you'll find this all over. There was so much outsourcing of content out there, and you just get to people's sites and you're so bored because it's just regurgitated and everybody's the same. So what I was finding is if I didn't know the subject matter, I wasn't a good writer. I mean, I can polish it, make it look pretty, but now I make people write their own content, and then I edit that content and I clean it up, and I still do content, but I won't do anymore. I did a lot of tech writing, a lot of stuff about security, really boring stuff, and I was okay at it, but we were, from my perspective, people weren't consuming it. We'd spend, these security companies would spend mega bucks, and then we'd look at the analytics, and CEOs and CFOs aren't reading it, and it's like, okay, so what's going on? So I kind of got out of content development is what I wanted to do a lot of. As you know, I like to write, but I've left a lot of it, and now it's content. Well, it's more psychology. It's more kind of getting people to talk about what they do, and then I'll take notes, and then then we'll craft things together. But I don't do the writing much straight up anymore, by design.
Because you are a good writer. It's funny. I just piggyback on something you said. You talked about the funnel and the funnel small, and that feels scary to people. But what I think it's good for people to know is, first of all, digital marketing can be a long game, right? It can be a long game because your content sort of builds on itself. But what you're really looking for is qualified leads. And because you want the funnel to be small, because you don't want to be fielding, 20 bad leads a day or a week or even a month.
Yes.
You're also doing your other work. And one of the things I like about digital marketing, even for me, like I used to, now it's annoying, but I used to, I'd click on the boot ad if I didn't have time to look up the company, because I knew it was going to follow me. So I'd find it again another time when I had time. But you also find out stuff you never knew you needed, right? So there is some good that we can get from it, from that organic kind of nature of it, even though it's all very, very prescribed and, scripted, whatever. But I think that the biggest thing, the takeaway is, it helps you get qualified leads. People self-identify by the time they get to you, right? And that's the idea behind it, to me anyway.
And I see this a lot in the Valley. People spend way too much time answering the phone, going to do estimates, or talking to people, or spending, whatever amount of time. When people ask me to do a proposal, personally, I want to be darn sure that they're ready, they have a budget, they know what I do before I take the 2 hours it takes to write that proposal. So if you're chasing unqualified leads all day, which is you put your phone number on your vehicle that says you do web, you're going to get calls from grandma that can't get her email to work to, whatever. So those qualified leads are huge. And I probably should have put more emphasis on that, but your brand message is there to say, here's who I am, here's what I do. And in that case, if you're like a woodworker or a carpenter right now, your website better say, I only take jobs over 5,000, or I only do finish work, or I do not do, and rather than answer calls and go out to people's houses and spend all that time, because time is money, put it on your website, put that message out there. Here's what I do, here's what I don't do. A lot of people are afraid to turn business away, but if you're not getting the business you want, you're not making any profits. You're chasing angels. So qualified is, and that's the funnel. Yeah, you don't want to be working up here with people. You want to make sure when you're ready to spend your time, if you're a busy business and you need to make money and you need to pay people, you don't want to waste time with unqualified leads. So that's a huge component. I probably should put more emphasis on it. And your analytics do help you figure some of that out.
I got you.
Sweet. Anybody else? I know it's a lot. I apologize. It might be a good idea to break up some of these components to get into them a little bit on a future webinar, but there's just so much. But
I think a series of everything that you do would be great.
Yeah, and I guess I've got like 6 or 8 different sections of notes here. But the bottom line is, it's a very effective, efficient means to market to people, to get those qualified leads, to narrow your funnel, to save your time, to get the business that you want, not the business that you don't want. I think that's what digital marketing does best. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I do,
Great.
before we disconnect, because, and I don't even know, I don't know if Chris was on the call. There was somebody that came up with my name and I never got who it was.
I don't
But
think
I
Chris
did it.
was on the call.
I pulled some names. So Chris was the first one, wasn't here. Steve wasn't connected. Shelly, I pulled your name as we were in the program. So you are the winner of the free website, the CEO, SEO and audit with Rich.
What?
The poor thing. And
Awesome.
I know Shelly personally. I know she's working on a business idea, and I know she does not have a website, and we've talked about that. And she's perfect candidate because she's got ideas and she's got things, and we need to get them to come out.
That's great.
Yes, thank you. And that is one thing that is kind of tricky. I work with, and she's a friend of mine, this woman who is super creative, and she's really, like, she has a blog, she has a website, and I really admire her for those things. She's constantly coming up with ideas too. And when Rich asked me, you know, a little bit about my business and business model, it was a little bit like a deer in the headlights. So that is a huge process that feels exciting to me, but I have no idea really how to get started. So I need you, Rich. Thank you.
Yeah, wait till we talk about your marketing strategy. That we got to drill down. We're up here, business model. Like, how are we going to promote your messages? And
I know. I thought we could make a video, maybe
Video
with
works.
dancing and some organizing. We can get Gina in there.
Shelly's starting an organizing business I know about, and I've taken advantage of some of her work because I am not the most organized, but you have to be that way with technology because it changes every 5 minutes. Don't get stuck in your ways. But all right, we'll be working together.
Great. Thank you.
I
And
noticed you gave her
Gary-
that shout out, Rich. I did notice that. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to jump on you.
Oh no, which shout out?
You gave her a shout out, I believe, on one of your Facebook
Oh
posts.
yes, yep.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
so
That's
you're in my bubble. You're in my Facebook bubble, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelly, we have a new house. We just moved to Shakura, and Shelly helped me so far work on my basement, which was a disaster because we just moved and I dumped things on the floor and I just stared at it. And Shelly helped me put it on shelves and put it in little boxes, and it is as daunting to me to see a pile of stuff as it is for most people to see a computer full of whatever's in, the magic. But I can see the magic in a computer, but I can't see it in my objects in my in my house. Although I've been working really hard on my office here. You'll see there's a big pile of stuff in the back. It's not clean, but at least the walls are now clean and I'm organized. So we all need our own help from our friends.
Shelley, I would like to reach out to you on a personal level as well as a chamber level, because I think this is information that we can all use, especially if anybody's working remotely.
Yes,
I'll be
absolutely.
reaching out to you.
We're gonna blow you up, Shelley.
Thank you. Woo. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and thank you again to everybody. Rich, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rich.
Sure.
Have
Thanks,
a great
Rich.
day, everyone.
Take care, everybody. If you need
Bye.
anything, let me know. Answer questions anytime.
Rich, I am going to talk to you about some stuff for our agency. Our SEO, our internal SEO person just left. So she got scooped up by an SEO company. And so we've been doing web audits for clients and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna talk to you offline and see
Cool.
if we might be able to, yeah. So that's awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Nice. Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Thank you. Have a great day. Stay warm. Enjoy the snow.